For more on the air quality in Beijing and the surrounding area in China, we are joined here in the Beijing studio, Mr. Wang Tao, resident scholar at the Energy and Climate Program based at the Carnegie Tsinghua Center for Global Policy. Welcome, sir. Meanwhile, joining us from Washington, D.C. in the United States, we're having Song Ranping, who is a developing country's climate action manager at World Resources Institute. Meanwhile, joining us from Boston, also inside the U.S., we're having Ms. Barbara Finamore, who is a senior attorney and also agent director at the Natural Resources Defense Council. Welcome to the three of you. I have to start from the local guest because I guess, Mr. Wang, you know better than everybody else sitting here, about what does it mean, these several new policies coming out. Let's just line them up. First of all of the cities, Tianjin, Beijing, and also Hebei province is going to have the same air quality alert. Secondly, we're going to have 5 routes for the wind to blow into the city of Beijing. And thirdly, the Chinese Environmental Protection Minister has been promising things are going to get better if we really implement all of these policies. So let's invite your wisdom. How much will they be implemented and will they be really working?
Thank you. I think the first point is importantly touching on the coordination issues. We heard from time to time last year when Beijing is raising the red alerts of the air pollutions, where we heard the other cities surrounding Beijing are not actually taking the same action, so which means they are still polluting at the same level, and then the pollution will blow into Beijing later on. So it seems like this is uncoordinated efforts and we are wasting all our resources on that. So this is an issue that I think that now we are trying to address by setting up this coordination mechanisms among the Beijing, Tianjin, and other 4 cities in Hebei. But I think we also could take another look from maybe half or maybe 1 year ago. We talked a lot about Jing-Jin-Ji. So we are actually thinking about
Jing-Jin-Ji means Beijing,
Tianjin, and
Hebei
provinces. So actually this, if you like, this is actually one step backwards. We are not actually asking the whole Hebei to coordinating together with Beijing and Tianjin, but only 4 cities nearby. I think this is also something that we need to maybe pushing further to say that we cannot just let go the other cities. We have to address that at larger scale. And then secondly, I think you mentioned about the 5 corridors. It's more like a short-term fix, if you like. You're actually increasing maybe the airflow of the wind so they will be able to blow away the pollution. But what is most important is we reduce the source of the pollution. And without that, I think only expecting that the wind help us to reduce pollution is only to some extent pessimistic.
Well, yes, indeed. Ms. Finamore, you know this, praying to the wind is not the way out. But what do you make of these immediate actions, at least policy-wise, coming from the central government, shall we say, from the Ministry of Environmental Protection and also related provinces, municipalities?
Well, the idea that you can blow pollution away is not a new one. It was raised in the U.S. A few years back by the city of LA. There was actually talk of cutting a hole in the mountain and putting a big fan next to it to blow the pollution out to sea. But that idea was shot down. It was realized that it's not a good use of funding. It was very expensive, and that the better solution would be, as we heard before, to cut the sources of pollution at their source. In the Midwest of the United States, where the large majority of the coal-fired power plants were built, there was also an effort at one point to build very, very tall stacks on the coal-fired power plants to blow the pollution away. But the problem is it blows to somewhere else. And in this case, it blew to the states in the eastern part of the United States, and the litigation by the eastern states against the Midwestern states continues to this day. So again, it's more the long-term solution that has to be addressed, and the main source of pollution in Beijing and the surrounding regions is coal. Coal is responsible for over half of the most damaging form of pollution in China, and within 600 kilometers of Beijing, 1/3 of China's coal is burned. That's about equal to the entire amount of coal burned in the U.S. So the long-term solution, number one, is to reduce China's reliance on coal.
Right. Well, Ms. Finamore, give us more of a case study of the United States in history, what worked and what not. Mr. Wang provide more on-the-ground information. Let's go to you, Mr. Song, because you've been working for developing countries' climate actions. You know this really well, I'm sure, sir, that when it comes to priorities, even though air quality is important, people's health is important, everybody understands that, but when it comes to real issues, when it comes to GDPs, when it comes to material wealth, you know, the air quality always being put probably at the third, if not the fourth priority. So is that a reality that we are facing? Are you confident about whatever policy we're coming up with?
Actually, I'm pretty confident on the progress we're making. So I think all experts agree that blowing away the pollution is just a very short-term measure, and I think you noted that very well that economic development and welfare development is the center of the people's concern. But I think we already passed the point that where people are debating whether that fighting pollution or even fighting climate change will be harming the economy or actually preventing us from to develop higher benefits and to produce our well-beings. I think we already passed that point of debate that because we see that the old development pathway will not be working, and we're also seeing that there's various economic studies saying that you can actually benefit from developing renewable energies. You can actually shift away from energy-intensive industries and emission-intensive industries, which is a root cause of pollution, and then shift to more climate-friendly industries and actually gain a lot of economic benefit from it.
Well,
so this is, I think the debate is pretty much is there, but I think the emerging consensus that actually we can achieve both ways. There's no trade-off. There should not be a trade-off between a decent life and then a terrible, a good environment.
Well, yes, there's a lot of debate about that, that's for sure, not only in China, but also elsewhere. The question is who's going to pay for those so-called clean energy and also clean technology. Some of them does not come easily and cheaply. Let me go to some of the numbers with you, and I want to invite your opinion as well. When we talk about the smog in China, we've seen very different versions of statistics coming out. On my hand, there's one version, at least, according to the sources, in the year 2015, Beijing's average PM 2.5 density dropped, in fact, rather than rise, at 9.9% from the year 2013. The average densities of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide has, in the year 2015, decreased by 49%, 11% respectively from 2 years prior. Average PM 2.5 density of Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei region in the year 2015 decreased about 17% from the year 2013. All of this seem to be very encouraging numbers. I cannot continue because I think our whole debate time will be taken up by reading these numbers. But the important thing is why statistically it seems beautiful. However, when it comes to people's real feelings, the citizens are feeling things are getting worse. Mr. Wang.
I think you have to differentiate the concept of intensity reductions and also the absolute amount of it. I think even though we may see the intensity being reduced over time, but maybe the absolute amount emitted to the air atmosphere actually increased because we actually have even larger volumes. But I think there's even more important issues to address here. I just returned from Delhi, and there is discussion also about using more renewable energies, and they are very ambitious about their own solar panel programs. And same as in China, we have built a lot of renewable energies, and related to what Mr. Song just mentioned, I think we're now facing a slightly difficult condition, which is now the economy is slowing down. The polluters or industries are quite sensitive about the cost of the energy use. They are becoming more and more reluctant about the choice to choose the clean energy, and also the government is also feeling there is a burden for them to continue to subsidize. If you think about last year, we actually saw the reduction of the almost no growth of the electricity demand, but the wasted electricity generated from solar and wind is unprecedented level. So that is also a huge waste in our investment and subsidies. Whether we will be able to take in bold enough actions to continue to push for that while we are declining the demand of the coal, I think that's a question, but also that is a challenge for the government.
Mr. Song, first of all, difficult economic times, different from 2 years ago already when we are talking about this issue. Secondly, the coordination among various government organizations between the business community and the government and also the civil society, these are all very complicated issues here in China. Mr. Song.
Yes, I believe that it's a very tough war against pollution. But I already see very confident